我刚才来医院看病才知道，那个社保断缴之后
I just went to the hospital for treatment and found out that after missing a payment for social insurance, I can't even use the balance in my health insurance account. I always thought that if you couldn't get reimbursement for things like medicine, it was just because of that, but the balance in your account would still be usable. But when I went to see the doctor, I found out that the money in my account couldn't be used either. This is my first time missing a payment, and I still have over 5,000 yuan in my account, but they told me it's unusable. I can't withdraw the money and I can't use it. I'll have to wait until my medical insurance payments are up to date before I can use it. The thing is, without health insurance, it's really expensive. It only took a few minutes and they gave me a bunch of test orders. After losing health insurance, I'm afraid to get sick ever again.
Many people in China have recently raised concerns over a troubling issue. Missing just one payment of social insurance causes the health insurance card to become completely useless. Even if there's still a balance of several thousand yuan, people are unable to access the funds for medical treatment. The money remains locked in the card, unavailable when it's needed most. In China, social insurance is a broad system that includes basic pension insurance, medical insurance, unemployment insurance, work injury insurance, and maternity insurance, among other benefits. Health insurance is just one part of this system. The social insurance card is an integrated tool that, in many places, has replaced the separate health insurance card for handling all social insurance-related tasks. Starting September 1st this year, China will implement new regulations making it illegal to skip payments for social insurance. This means everyone is now required to contribute to the system. Though the rules haven't officially kicked in yet, some areas are already showing signs of trouble. It's easy to think that missing a social insurance payment only affects health insurance, but it seems that the government has more ways to control citizens than many realize. In Shenzhen, for example, a vlogger revealed that after his social insurance payments were interrupted, his child was no longer able to attend school.
你能想象吗？在深圳工作了10年。
Can you imagine? I've been working in Shenzhen for 10 years and paying into social insurance for 10 years now. But because I missed a few months of payments in the past year, my child can't apply for schools in Shenzhen. A friend shared his experience with me. He said he lost his job recently, and unemployment has become a daily struggle. He couldn't keep up with his social insurance payments, and now his child's education is stuck. After contributing to Shenzhen for 10 years, now his child can't even go to school. The problem isn't limited to public schools. Even private schools are refusing to accept students whose parents don't pay into social insurance, leaving these children without access to education.
If
you're not a Shenzhen resident, you can't pay social insurance here, and you can't even attend private schools. The admission requirements for private schools are no different from those of public schools. Not paying or even missing 1 month of payments will cause your application to fail. Without social insurance or a residence permit, you can't even establish student status. So, if you want your child to study in Shenzhen, you need to have at least 1 continuous year of social insurance and the Shenzhen residence permit. Also, one important thing for both Shenzhen residents and non-residents is that you must get a rental certificate for at least 1 year in advance. Otherwise, even if you meet all the other requirements, you won't be able to enroll your child in a public school in Shenzhen. Children can't go to school without social insurance. Even with social insurance, schools are required certain points based on how many years parents have contributed. So fewer years of payments also means their kids cannot get into good schools.
像我们这样带着孩子在外打工的
For people like us who come here to work with our children, getting them into school is a big deal. Once that's sorted, we can feel secure working here. Yesterday, the results for the Bao'an District Middle School admissions were released. Even for public schools, getting into middle school now depends on your social insurance points. We paid social insurance in Shenzhen for over 10 years, but our eldest child still didn't get into the public school. Although we kind of expected it, it's still a little disappointing. Right now, we are waiting for the second batch of private school results. Hopefully, we'll be accepted into the same school where our child went for elementary school. They have a middle school section too.
This issue isn't just happening in Shenzhen. Similar policies have been introduced in cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Hebei. In these cities, both parents must contribute to social insurance for their children to attend school. If one parent fails to pay, the child cannot enroll. In Sichuan, a teacher even told parents in the group chat, "Have you all paid your social insurance? If not, I'll stop your child's classes. This sparked outrage online. One person commented, education is a big deal, and this policy is essentially using children as a leverage to force parents to pay a protection fee. Another said, on one hand, they encourage young people to have more children, but on the other, they make school enrollment dependent on paying social insurance. Isn't this using our vulnerabilities against us? Who would dare have children now? The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, appears to have found a new way to handle young people opting for a more passive lifestyle known as lying flat, a term for rejecting traditional societal pressures like home ownership and career success. If they choose not to buy a house or a car, that's fine, but miss a payment for social insurance and it becomes illegal. Even access to education for their children is tied to their social insurance status. There always seems to be another hurdle to navigate. It seems that unless we don't have children in the future, or if we have enough money to send them abroad for school, paying social insurance is unavoidable. But for those who can afford to send their kids overseas, who cares about that small amount of social insurance money? This policy is clearly aimed at trapping the lower income population. What's even more outrageous are the additional regulations.
更扎心的是，社保还挂钩着我们的人生大事。
What's even more painful is that social insurance is tied to major life events, like buying a house, getting a loan, sending your kids to school, or applying for public housing. If your social insurance is interrupted, you could lose all your eligibility, and a lot of problems will follow. Trying to make up for missed payments, it's almost impossible.
北京社保千万不要断缴。
In Beijing, you must never let your social insurance lapse. If you stop paying, the consequences are dire. First, our health insurance will be suspended, and we won't be able to use it. Then, after missing payments, our eligibility to buy a house, a car, or even send our children to school will be affected. It can even impact things like applying for documents when traveling abroad.
社保断缴一次，这些待遇直接清零。
When social insurance payments are interrupted, all these benefits are reset to zero. The longer you miss pension payments, the lower your retirement benefits will be. If you stop paying health insurance, you can't get reimbursements the next month. If you rejoin within 3 months, you might be able to catch up. But if it's over 3 months, you'll have to wait for another 3 to 6 months. And you'll pay out of pocket for medical expenses. The idea that everything resets to zero is a rumor. But the length of your continuous payments will be recalculated and your reimbursement limits will be affected. In some cities, maternity insurance requires you to pay continuously for 9 months before pregnancy. And if you miss payments, you'll need to catch up for 12 months after giving birth. Work injury insurance is not affected, but you need to pay unemployment insurance for a full year before it counts. The most frustrating part is that social insurance is also tied to things like buying a house, getting a car license plate, and sending your kids to school. If you miss a payment, you lose your eligibility. Another user stated, "Don't think of social insurance as just a small deduction from your salary. That's too simplistic. Social insurance is your ticket to the future. If you don't pay into it long term, you might not even be eligible to participate in society down the road. Right now, the Chinese government is redefining the rules, and your social insurance record has become the key proof of your identity. Without this qualification, you might face limitations everywhere and struggle to move forward." What's more, the government's policies are unstable. It used to be that paying into social insurance for 15 years was enough to qualify for a pension. But because the social insurance fund has a huge shortfall, the government changed the rules earlier this year, and now you need to pay for 20 years to receive a pension. And if you stop paying, you won't be able to get back all the contributions you made in the past.
我上个月的养老保险没交，我不想交了。
Last month, I didn't pay my pension insurance. I didn't want to anymore. Did any of you feel the same way? I had already paid for 8 years. I thought if I paid for 15 years and then just waited, I wouldn't have to pay anymore. But with the new rules, they added another 5 years. Now I have to pay for another 12 years until I'm 50 and then wait until I'm 60 to start receiving benefits. After 11 more years, I'll slowly start getting back the money I put in. I just feel like it's completely unnecessary. And if I go by the rate at which they are reimbursing me to break even, I'll have to live to at least 70.
One woman shared her experience when she tried to get her previous contributions back after deciding to stop paying. When she called, she was told she could only get 40% of her total account balance. After paying for 8 years, her account had at least 70,000 yuan, but she could only get 28,000 yuan back. The remaining 42,000 yuan was essentially lost. Since she didn't have a fixed job, all her contributions were paid out of her own savings, and it felt unfair for so much money to be taken away by the government. Now, the only option to minimize her losses is to continue paying.
穷人不配拥有社保，社保是富人的标配。
Poor people aren't meant to have social insurance. It's a standard benefit for the rich and a high-end benefit for the poor. For an ordinary person, it's hard to keep paying for 15 years, 20 years, or even 30 years. Like some reports suggest, I can't even give my parents 15,000 yuan a month, so I'm not eligible to pay social insurance. But even after paying for the full social insurance, there's no guarantee of receiving retirement benefits. One person shared her real-life experience.
我都震惊了，交了15年的社保啊！
I was shocked. I've been paying for social insurance for 15 years, and now it's all gone down the drain. What's going on? You know what? My pension was just confiscated. Isn't that terrifying? This morning, on my way to work, I overheard a lady saying that she happily went to apply for a pension, but the social insurance office shut her down. They told her to provide 3 things. First, her original labor contract. Second, 10 years of wage records. And third, the company's full accounting books. How is she supposed to get that, right?
Some people have expressed concern that China's social insurance system is corrupt and untrustworthy, and they don't want to be deceived. Mr. Lee, a factory worker, explained that he has never paid into social insurance because he simply doesn't trust it. He said, "Where's the guarantee? There's no protection for sickness, education, or retirement. What kind of social insurance is that? There's no basic fairness or justice. Why should I pay for something like that? Paying social insurance just feels like giving money away for free. You're paying for government workers' pensions while you get nothing in return. It's just draining the life out of ordinary people." Why is the Chinese government now so eager to force everyone into paying social insurance? The simple answer is they're running out of money. Social insurance funds are in heavy deficit. In old industrial bases like the Northeast, the economy is struggling. Young people are leaving, and fewer people are paying into social insurance. Meanwhile, the number of retirees is growing, and the central government is subsidizing the shortfall. The health insurance fund has also been mismanaged. During the pandemic, free COVID tests, vaccine subsidies, and even payments for vaccinations were funded by health insurance. Now that the money is gone, the government is pushing citizens to pay into social insurance. But in today's job market, low-income workers are struggling to make ends meet. When people can't afford food, how are they supposed to pay for social insurance? As one user pointed out, "Hey expert, should I buy social insurance first or should I buy rice first?"
知道为什么年轻人现在都不愿意交社保了吗？原因很简单。
Do you know why young people don't want to pay now? It's simple. The current job market is tough for young people. A lot of them graduate and can't find a job. Every year, there are 10 million graduates, and many from last year are still unemployed. So, if you add in social insurance, many companies might have to adjust their budgets. I used to hire 10 people, but now I can only hire 5. The second reason is a lot of employees only earn 2 or 3,000 yuan a month. If they have to pay their portion of the social insurance and lose 500 yuan, they'll barely have enough to get by. The third reason is employees can't see a future, and neither can their bosses.
全民社保来了以后，原来最反对的居然是最底层的打工人。
When universal social insurance was introduced, the people who opposed it the most were the lowest level workers. A lot of people are criticizing us, saying we're ignorant, that we lack foresight, and that we don't think ahead. Let me tell you why. You've never seen real poverty. What do you think poor people are like? You think they should rent out extra houses and drive for rideshare services to make extra money? I've worked in labor for 8 years, and I've seen many poor people. Let me tell you what poverty really is. Have you ever seen someone go to work without money for transportation? Have you ever seen someone go to work with not a penny in their name? They have to borrow money just to get by. They borrow a few dozen yuan for everything they need. Why do they choose temporary work? Because temporary jobs let them borrow their wages. Why do they stick to temporary work? because many small corrupt team leaders in the factories keep exploiting them. They also want to do their jobs well. They don't want to keep changing jobs. They want to pay for social insurance, but they're constantly pushed out by others. Have you ever seen a factory with no orders, constantly on the break? They have fixed expenses every month. They're not like you. You have a car, a house, and everything. But for many people, their necessary monthly expenses are just a few thousand yuan. When the factory runs out of work, they have to move to another factory right away to make sure they can still pay their bills. They're not like you, dreaming about the future. We're living in reality. What's reality? It's about having enough to eat today, making sure my family is fed, and that my kids can go to school. That's reality. What's even more concerning is that China's current system and job market have left many people without hope for the future.
年轻人为什么不愿意交社保？
Why don't young people want to pay social insurance? I saw this question trending online, and here's my summary in 3 words. There's no hope. It's not just young people who feel this way, but also middle-aged workers doing delivery or rideshare jobs. Many of them turned to these flexible jobs because they couldn't find stable work. Now, even these flexible workers are being forced to pay into social insurance, with the government claiming it's for their own good. But for many, just getting by to support their families is hard enough. They don't have the extra money to pay for social insurance. Then, there are the workers who've missed social insurance payments, the ones who need it the most. But has it really helped them? For example, the requirements for unemployment insurance are so strict that most people won't qualify. The debate online is divided. Some support paying into social insurance, while others oppose it entirely.
有社保的人说必须交。
People with social insurance say you have to pay it, or you're stupid. People without it say they can't afford it. They're struggling just to survive. So what happens? Both sides blame each other, and no one convinces anyone. But the real question is, why should it matter to someone of you whether I pay or not? Can't I make my own decision about whether to dip my dumplings in vinegar or pay for social insurance? The main point that this vlogger is still missing is that naturally, those who have social insurance want everyone to pay. It benefits them, particularly retired government employees with higher incomes. However, in today's tough economy, many people simply can't afford to pay social insurance. A significant number of factories and businesses are in the same situation. Forcing people to pay only accelerates business closures, deepens economic decline, raises unemployment, and makes it even harder for low-income workers to find jobs. Therefore, enforcing mandatory social insurance payments isn't just an ineffective policy, it could contribute to further economic instability.
我能缴社保吗？我不赔。
Can't I pay for social insurance? I'm not even eligible. I know social insurance is for retirement, but expecting my boss to pay it for me? Is he crazy? I can't even imagine that. So I'll have to pay it myself. I can barely make ends meet, and now I'm supposed to pay for social insurance too? And the worst part is, I don't even have control over it. They can change the requirement to 15 years, to 20 years, then 30 years. I'm supposed to rely on social insurance for retirement, but all social insurance wants is for me to burn out early. Why all of a sudden are they concerned about my retirement?
一家工厂老板跑路了。
A factory owner took off. The night before, he was still having his employees work late. At midnight, he started notifying everyone he was on holiday. By the time the employees showed up the next day, the boss was nowhere to be found. They didn't even get paid. Nothing was settled. The boss just disappeared. After September 1st, I wonder how many more bosses like that will just run off.
今年的老板格外的难。
This year, being a boss is especially tough. 9 out of 10 have already stopped paying their social insurance, just so they can take the last bit of money in their accounts and pay their employees. Raw material prices went up 30%, rent doubled, orders were cut in half. Running a business now feels like having a party in the ICU. It's not that bosses don't want to pay social insurance, they literally can't afford it. What happens if we force businesses to bear the high costs? Either they cut jobs or they run off. And when the company goes under, employees can't even get their wages. At that point, who still remembers social insurance? The new social insurance policy has sparked a strong public backlash. In response, the Chinese state-run newspaper People's Daily published a clarification, stating that mandatory social insurance for all is a misunderstanding. It emphasized that the requirement to pay social insurance has always been in place and that this isn't a new policy. The article accused some media outlets of misleading the public and creating confusion. Public reactions were mixed. This is a pressure test. Public opinion was too strong, so they backed off. It's also sparked a big discussion on pension fairness, which isn't good for the big picture. Once they saw the shift in public opinion, they quickly backed off. It's clear that collective opposition works. They tested the waters, realized it wasn't going well, and decided to retreat, for now. However, some remain concerned, fearing that the government is just testing the waters. While this policy has been postponed due to public pressure, similar policies may resurface in the future.